This is a spoonbill paddlefish.
What's with their caviar? And is their meat any good? What's up, y'all? I'm Reed the Fishmonger, and today we're diving into the truth about the American paddlefish. But first, we gotta catch a fish. Here in the Lake of the Ozarks, we're allowed to catch 2 fish per person. They have a short season from March 15th to April 30th. We're out with Captain Nick, and he uses something called live scope, where you can see this fish as it's slowly swimming through the water. To catch a paddlefish, we have to snag it. Snagging it is driving a hook into the fish without any bait at all. Once that hook sets into the side of the fish, as soon as they feel that hook go in the side of them, they peel drag out like crazy. And as you're reeling in your paddlefish, you have to be thinking of the next step. And that next step is filleting. Before you bring it in, you're gonna wanna bleed it. And one of our fish weighed 100 pounds. The captain said it was his biggest one of the season. Inside of this 100-pound fish is potentially thousands of dollars worth of caviar. And it is a caviar alternative. It's called a caviar alternative because technically only fish eggs that are coming from a sturgeon is considered caviar, whereas this produces a more affordable black caviar. But the process that needs to go into cleaning that caviar so it's edible for consumption is time consuming, and we don't have the time for that. We're just gonna teach you how to get all the meat off of this fish and how to cook it. And you cannot legally transport paddlefish eggs. Once you start processing, the eggs have to stay in the same area where it's processed. So legally, we have to discard this immediately, unfortunately. Cutting the head off these fish first is gonna make it really easy to fillet. So you're gonna find the collarbone right here, and you can either slide underneath that collarbone or just cut right under it, just like this. Outline that collarbone all the way behind the head. We're gonna repeat the process. Go behind the collarbone at an angle, follow it all the way down, right in front of that fin, right there. All right, after making that cut on both sides, you should be able to just give it a little lift like that, and the weight of the head will pull this whole paddle right off. That is an absolute monster right there. These fish don't have a skeletal structure like your typical fish. It's actually cartilage, like a shark. So when we make this initial cut right here, we're not resting our knife right on top of a spine. We're gonna go a little slowly, make sure we're right on top of this cartilage right here before we start sliding down all the way on top of it. Instead of having a skeleton that guides your knife, you're gonna have this cartilage that guides your knife. See this white right here? That's technically not bone, but that is what we're using to follow along. So you don't want your knife angled hard down because it's very easy to cut through that cartilage. So take your time going all the way down. And this meat is not considered prized table fare, not prized at all. We're not gonna let any of this go to waste. We're gonna be flying back with some of the meat because we can legally fly back with some of it, and then we're going to be donating the rest of it. So it's crazy is these lines of sinew right here look just like the lines of sinew that would be on top of rib bones. There are no rib bones here, even though it has that similar structure. We're still going around it, leaving a thin layer behind because that is a membrane. So we're actually riding down on top of that membrane, not leaving any of it on our fillet, just letting the sharp knife do the work. Once you get to the bottom of those lines, you're gonna dip over to the other side with a slight gentle angle down, just like this. Puncture through the tail, cut all the way through, and then we're going to separate all this membrane off. This is an absolute beast of a fillet, and we're gonna teach you how to get it all trimmed up. That way it's as edible as you can make it. Look at the cartilage on this fish. It's absolutely insane. All right, we're gonna roll it over. This thing totally looks like a shark when its head's cut off. On this side, we're gonna start right on top of that dorsal fin, get a good start, and go all the way to the head. Then we're gonna flip our knife around, go all the way down to the tail, puncture all the way through, separate it out just like that, flip our knife around. Now start working our way towards the head. Super easy to cut through that cartilage. So we wanna make nice, shallow incisions and work your way to the center. And look at that, no meat left behind. We got to the center spine. Do the same process all the way down to the tail. Now we're gonna angle our knife slightly up. That way we can run down where those ribs would have been if this fish had any. Now we're using the tip of our knife to rest right on top of that cartilage as we slide down to the other side. We're gonna completely separate off that belly now. Puncture our knife through, slide out just like that, separate out the belly. Now one
swift cut like that, and our whole skeleton is separated. And there is absolutely no meat left on that spoonbill. First thing we're gonna do is cut this fin off. We're gonna outline it just like that, and we're going to go underneath this membrane, slide all the way down. We're gonna separate it off just like that. All this fat and blood, we're going to shave all of that off. And the meat underneath is gonna look so much better. Look at that. You know, people say that this fish is no good. I personally think that it probably has something to do with how they're being cleaned. I think if you clean them right, there's a good chance this is not gonna be bad at all. The meat actually looks pretty good. I'm excited to try it. We're gonna slide down just like that. Didn't lose out on any of that meat, just took away all that cartilage. Now we're gonna do the same thing with this blood here. We're gonna just shave gently right underneath, hand underneath the fillet, just like that. We're gonna cut this tail off, and now we're gonna high loin, low loin this entire thing. So we're gonna go all the way down the center, separating it into two massive loins. So you got the high loin right here. That's gonna make great medallions. Slide down, leaving a thin layer. Then, once we get down to the visible dark meat, which is right here, we're gonna angle our knife in and slide down. That way, we take out a lot of that dark meat with the center cartilage. And then skinning these loins is really easy. At the front, we got a little bit of the blood where we took the head off. So we're just gonna cut right in front of that, twist our knife, get a good grip on that skin, and then it's really easy to just drag on down. You wanna leave a little bit of meat left behind so that way you take as much of that dark meat out as possible. Then we're gonna come back around and take out the rest of that dark meat. Go all the way down, roll it back. Once you're to the other side of it, you can stick your knife out and start dragging all the way down, just like this. And just like that, we just took out all the dark meat from that high loin. Then there's two things we can do. We can cut them into nice medallions like this, or you can cut it like this, take that center cut high loin and go right down just like this, all the way out. Now you got two flat pieces of spoonbill paddlefish with all the blood out. And I think that cut like this is actually gonna be the best way to eat it. When it comes to cleaning up the belly, which we've been told is borderline inedible, we're gonna cut off the edge, then we're gonna skin it, slide your knife all the way down just like this, and let it slide. Got all that skin off. Now we got all this membrane we want to take off. So we're gonna, like we're skinning it, but that membrane's easy to cut through. We want our knife to be flat as we slide down. This is what we were told, borderline inedible, just straight fatty belly, but we're gonna give it a try. When it comes to spoonbill paddlefish, people tend to go for the trophy instead of going for the meat, which is really unfortunate because over 100,000 pounds of these fish are harvested every single year out of Missouri alone. So we're gonna show you a couple of ways to make this fish actually taste really good. What we have here is just a small amount of that 100-pound spoonbill paddlefish that we caught. We gave away a lot to locals in the area because, believe it or not, a lot of this fish that's harvested every year goes to people from out of state like us that came to catch this fish and get to experience catching a monster spoonbill. So we ourselves are guilty of going for the trophy. We also wanted to catch the biggest one we possibly could because it's exciting, it's fun, makes a good YouTube video, but it's also important to eat all of the fish you catch. You know, give away as much as you can, and if you're not gonna eat any of it, give away all of it. But I wanna encourage you guys that are going for these fish to try to eat some of it. And it's super easy to make this fish that most people aren't crazy about actually really delicious. This right here is Everglades Heat. Everglades seasoning is a Florida classic. It is absolutely phenomenal when it comes to smoked fish. We're making this super simple and easy for you guys. Making this fish taste good is not that complicated. And we cleaned it to where there's no dark meat. That is a really good first step to making this fish taste good. We've got our Rectech flagship preheated to 180 degrees because we're gonna start the smoke low, then after it's almost cooked, we're gonna pump the heat up to toast the outside. We're gonna pop this bad boy open, it's preheated, and we're just going to lay all these pieces right in just like that. And then we're gonna take this belly portion, which people say isn't that great. Then we're gonna take this high loin butterfly medallion, which is the prize of the fish. we're gonna cook that on a flat top and eat that a little bit more plain. Woo, that's looking good. We're gonna bust out everyone's favorite spatula because it can take this entire hot tray out all at once. That looks phenomenal. All right, now that those are cooling down, we're gonna start working on our fish cakes. You need mashed potatoes. You're gonna take a bell pepper and gonna take out the green and the seeds. Take some thin slices off this bell pepper, line them up. We're gonna take a little bit of onion. All right, now we're gonna take off some of our spoonbill paddlefish and cut it open for the first time, checking out the inside. Look at that. Smoked all the way through, still super moist, this nice fatty fish, almost wet. Let's try it plain. That's great. Honestly, if you fed this to your buddies that said they didn't like spoonbill paddlefish, I bet you would already make a believer out of them without even having to turn it into cakes or dip. All right, that was a high loin piece. We're gonna mix in a low loin piece right here, which is gonna be extra fatty. Cut right into the center of that, and oh my gosh, look at that glistening fat right there. Super moist all the way through. You can see the juices running down. I want nice chunks of fish in there. All right, before we add our mashed potatoes, we're gonna take a lemon and give that lemon a good squeeze all over our fish. Now we're gonna take some of our mashed potatoes and mix them in there. And we want a nice cake texture. Don't wanna over mashed potato it. Add it as you go to make sure you get the right texture. And that is looking great right there. All right, we're gonna mix in a little bit of parsley for a splash of color. And we're gonna take our oldest jalapeno that's been dying of thirst in our refrigerator. We're gonna mix this up, and I can already tell you, this is gonna be absolutely phenomenal. All right, now we're gonna hit our griddle with some butter, get some brown butter going. Then we're gonna lay this belly down nice and flat. Then we're gonna take this center cut high loin butterfly, lay that down nice and flat. That way we can taste those pieces just the way they are. While those are cooking, we're gonna drop down some more butter and start forming our cakes. Don't wanna overwork them. Get that butter back over here. Lay those down, pat them a little bit. Now we already cooked this all the way through by smoking it. We're just browning the outside of these cakes to impart some of that brown butter flavor on the outside of them. It's gonna be absolutely phenomenal. When it comes to making homemade smoked fish dip, I like my fish nice and chunky. I like a dip, not a spread. So we're cutting it into nice cubes like this. That way they still got a nice bite to it. All right, we're gonna pause on that and check on these guys. I think the cakes are ready to flip and the meat is ready to come off. Plop this up here for a minute. Let it drain out some of that grease. Oh yeah, look at that brown butter crust. That's what we want right there. All right, there's the belly portion right there. That is looking mighty fine. Here's the high loin medallion. That looks awesome as well. I hope it tastes as good as it looks because that looks pretty. All right, while those cakes are browning on the second side, we're gonna continue working on our smoked fish dip. I've been making homemade smoked fish dip at my family's seafood market for over 18 years. I know a thing or two about smoked fish dip, and this fish is gonna make a good one. A little bit of celery, a little bit of green onion. On the green onions, I don't throw away all my whites. Take the other side of that lemon, squeeze it in. Good pile of jalapeno in there. All right, these cakes are ready to come off. All right, now we're going in with some mayonnaise, and that is it. This dip is done. With a cracker and your hot sauce of choice, and this is gonna be absolutely delicious. Final touch on the smoked fish dip is just a dusting of paprika over the top of it. We've got smoked paddlefish dip. We've got smoked paddlefish fish cakes. We've got smoked paddlefish, and we have blackened paddlefish. That paddlefish belly looks like it's just straight fish butter. Let's try it out. That's surprisingly good. Fish cakes is probably one of my favorite ways to transform an oilier fish and make it absolutely delicious. Drop a lemon. That is so good. Thanks for watching. Have a killer day.